emerging demographic patterns. Before I get into this particular mega trend, let me just give you an overview of how we have designed each of these mega trend slides so that it's easier for the audience to understand the flow of each of these slides. Within each megatrend slide, what we have done is that we have highlighted the respective sub-trends, and we have also provided some of the notable data-driven and qualitative signals that actually demonstrates how any particular trend would be emerging or evolving in future. And then we have also included the future trend outlook for each of these mega trends, starting from what it is going to be in the short term, that is the time between today and within the next 3 years. Then the midterm, that is the time between the next 4 to 11 years, and long term, that is next 12 to 16 years. So coming to this mega trend, that is emerging demographic pattern, this particular mega trend reflects the major shifts in population dynamics, fertility rates, aging population, as well as migration. Now, the future global population will be dominated by the younger set of generations like the Generation Z and Generation Alpha. Now, born between 2010 and 2025 is the Generation Alpha, which is expected to account for 23% of global population by 2040. Now, this generation is different from the other generation because they are permanently connected to internet, because they were born in a digital era. They are more socially aware and they are more culturally diverse than the previous generation, and so we expect them to be the prime motivator or the prime driver of how the businesses will operate in 2040. Again, the another young set of generation that will dominate the global population would be the Generation Z. That is, they are born between 1995 to 2010. They will also lead important businesses decisions and will also promote social and economical causes through innovations like high automation, or by adapting a very inclusive lifestyle of health and wellness, and also growing urbanization will also have a greater influence on how this generation is being shaped. Both this generation will be driven with technology and digital based services. Generation Z and Generation Alpha are poised to supercharge economic participation, digital engagement, and also sustainable practices. Now, from this generation, let's move on to the other sub-trends, that is the reducing or the declining global fertility rates. Now, the trend signal shows that by 2050, the global fertility rates are projected to decline significantly, with 76% of countries having fertility rates below the replacement level of 2.1 children per woman. And this is quite alarming. Some of the factors that is actually leading to this could be the changing family structures, like increasing single household, single headed families, or families with 0 children, and then also other societal norms and government policies that are actually driving this continued decline in global birth rate. Some of the implication of this particular trend would be that there could be a potential reduction in the global age population, which could lead to labor shortages, and even the lower birth rate could raise the family dependency ratio. That means there will be fewer working age individuals that would be able to support a growing elderly population. Again, there will be an impending pressure of accelerated migrative flow, which refers to a large-scale displacement of population because of certain factors like extreme climate change related events, and resource scarcity, and also like getting more better infrastructure. And so we see more and more rural population being moving towards the urban settlements, and then there could be a migratory flow because of the escalation of the geopolitical conflicts, that is the ongoing interregional war that is going on. So during the next 30 years, uh, it is expected that this climate change or any kind of geopolitical shifts will actually lead to displace 143 million people globally. Now, we also see that there would be at least 1.6 billion new urban residents in cities. And by cities, we mean primarily in developed nations, which will have the ability to support this growth. So in terms of evolution of this mega trend, in the short run, we expect to witness more and more expansion of cities, especially in the developed countries due to rural exodus. And also Gen Zs will be able to bring in new collaborative and co-creative business models here to cater to their way of um, uh, their way of looking towards the digital, you can say, services like online shopping or maybe mobile apps. And in the midterm, we see that this new generation sect will enter the workforce, and so they will face a landscape where many routine jobs will already be automated, and this will lead to coming up of new roles that will require more human machine collaboration. Now there now the unique experience and expectation of this particular generation will actually drive significant changes in how organizations actually engage uh, them as their employees, and also how companies see them as consumers and emphasis. And so we find, and so we'll see that more and more companies, or more and more you can say workplaces will be emphasizing more on the need of this particular generation. And so there could be some innovative approaches coming up both in education as well as in the workplace. So in the long term, we see that most of the labor supply globally will be dominated by the African region. And this is because this particular region will see a surge in their working age population. By 2040, we'll also see Generation Alpha to be entering the workforce. And with them entering the workforce, they will bring in some distinct preferences which will be valued by businesses and organizations. And we will see significant changes in how businesses operate. Organizations will proactively adapt to these shifts by embracing maybe advanced technologies, or by bringing up some diversified, you can say, business models, or some flexible business models for the purpose to better position them. And so we expect to see a very evolving landscape of work by 2040.